its motions, requesting that the court impose consequences for those violations. Quick caveat, the only reason we even knew about this hearing, boots on the ground that is because our lovely BG had access to the docket and made us aware of this hearing date. And honestly, we decided to prepare, organize, and reunite because we felt this was an important one to hear the facts on, especially because we would be hearing defense arguments from Brenay as to how her behavior and those violations were justified. Of course, we were excited. As you know, some of us haven't met in person. We've only interacted online, so it was great. That is until Brenay saw boots on the ground. She wasn't happy. If you want to see footage of that, BG posted some on her page, so please feel free to check that out. There was a brief altercation between Brenay and one of the boots on the ground members. Words were exchanged, Tim interjected, Ninja got mad. Not exactly the calmest start. But once we entered the courtroom, things settled. Or so we thought. Because the first thing out of the judge's mouth is, "I don't have jurisdiction," and the entire courtroom froze. The attorneys were clearly confused. The judge said that there were competing orders in the record and that there was a lot of confusion because of some email exchanges, and that because motions were being exchanged as recently as Tuesday, the judge hadn't reviewed anything. Here, Attorney Robin and, surprise, surprise, Attorney Hamilton, who showed up in this case to represent Brenay, decided to clarify. The contempt motions were filed back on December 9th, so this is even prior to Dr. Filial. Minor edits had been discussed, yes, but the controlling order was still the notice to vacate. That is what establishes jurisdiction and allows the hearing to proceed. The more recent back and forth was regarding other motions, such as Attorney Hamilton's motion to deny, motion to dismiss, and they were having some back and forth and disagreement, but ultimately decided to leave that at the judge's discretion. But unfortunately, that all got jumbled up and they thought they were talking about the initial motions, so they were going back and forth and the judge was getting irritated. The attorneys pushed back, respectfully of course, and explained that the noise he was interpreting wasn't really noise at all. The controlling motion was still intact, jurisdiction really did exist, and the hearing could proceed. So the judge goes into chambers, then comes back, has another back and forth with the attorneys, trying to explain why he's still confused. The attorneys attempt to clarify, he is still annoyed, goes back into chambers with his clerk, then comes back. 1 hour and 20 minutes pass, y'all. But this time when he returned, he was pissed. And he was pissed because he claimed that he had gotten word that somebody was live streaming in the courtroom. He immediately asked the person who was live streaming to identify themselves. Everybody threw their hands up. Nobody knew what he was talking about. Brenay spoke on her side and said, nobody on this side is live streaming. It must be them. All of us threw our hands up because we didn't have our phones out. We were all kind of conferring with each other, so nobody was on their phone. We do know that there were a couple of boots on the ground members that were outside the courtroom on a live panel, but nobody was in the courtroom. And just a reminder, it is perfectly allowed to be on a live panel or to live stream or record outside the courtroom. That